You're listening to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. Just a quick heads up before we get started with this episode, I wanted to let you know about a free resource for listeners of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. That means you. If you are planning your next trip abroad, or if you're just getting back out into the world again, maybe you're going to an event or to a festival or to a meetup, that you need to be prepared for what to say when you meet someone for the first time. Download our free Spanish conversation guide so that you'll be prepared to have a conversation with anyone that you meet for the first time in Spanish. We give you a list of the most common questions that you'll be asked and that you may want to ask someone when you meet them for the first time, along with the responses so that you can be prepared when you have that conversation in less than 30 minutes. So to get your free conversation guide, just go to SpanishConversationGuide.com. Simple, right? SpanishConversationGuide.com to download your quick guide to prep for your first Spanish conversation.
Bienvenidos. Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast,
the show for Spanish learners
that love music,
travel, and culture.
Close your grammar textbooks,
shut down the language apps, and open your ears
to how Spanish is spoken in the real world.
Let us show you
how to go from beginner
to bilingual.
Here's your host,
certified language coach,
Tamara Marie.
Hola y bienvenidos al episodio 234. Welcome to episode 234 of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. As we are embarking on the winter holidays here in the U.S., I thought this would be a good opportunity to reflect on some of the things that we've done here at Spanish con Salsa over the past few years. End of the year is a great time for reflection. And in doing so, I want to share a conversation that I had with my good friend Desta Haile from Languages Through Music. She was on one of the very first episodes of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast when we started, back in, I believe, 2019. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to share another conversation with Desta, but in this case, we are switching tables here. I am the one being interviewed on Desta's podcast, so I will be sharing the conversation I had with her just before I took a trip to London to actually visit her in person and get to see some of the sites there. So at the end of the episode, I will share a little bit about our trip. At the time of the conversation, I was actually preparing to go to London. So I hope that you enjoy our conversation about learning languages through music, how music is really powerful, and how it can really help you through what might seem like turbulent times. I know for many of us, 2025 has been a year full of changes, full of challenges, and it was great to have a conversation with Desta to just reflect on the role that music plays in language learning and the role that language learning plays in our overall sort of wellness, mental health, and ability to reach goals and really focus on things that bring us joy. So with that, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Desta.
Welcome back to the Languages to Music podcast, and today I'm so excited to see my friend Tamara from Spanish con Salsa, the founder of Learn Spanish con Salsa, the host of the incredible Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast, soon taking over London for the first time. Welcome,
first time ever.
Tamara. So nice
Thank
to see
you, Desta.
you.
Great to see you again, too. It's been a while. And yeah, great to be able to catch up and talk about something we both love, which is learning languages through music. Yes. Thank you for having me.
And it's nice to have a kind of trip down memory lane of our longtime Zoom friendship that started 2019, I feel. It was before COVID, and we linked with Shahida and LaDonna, Soul's Time.
Yes.
Yeah. Good times. So, starting at the very beginning, I like to ask all my guests the same question of any early music memories, very first music memories for you.
Wow. So, first music memories. So, it's not a memory I have, but the first music story that comes to mind is I was told by a family member that there was a block party in my grandmother's neighborhood, and I was 4 years old, and I went out and started dancing. Apparently,
Oh.
is the story. Of course, I have no recollection of this because I was 4. But yeah, I was told that, and I think probably my earliest music memories are around like listening to hip hop and like being from a place where hip hop wasn't like the popular local music. It wasn't like the party music here, but because it was very much a New York type thing. But there was sort of like this underground kind of vibe of like authentic. It's like, this is a real hip hop type of thing. So I remember from like even when I was like maybe 10 years old, just like getting the head nod down like for the first time. Like, okay, all right, I'm official now. So for me, I started definitely as a hip hop head. That would probably be my first. Yeah, my first
What
memories.
was the party music?
Oh, it's so where I'm from is Baltimore. So we have something very specific. It's like called club music here. It's literally all we call it. But it's kind of, I feel like it's moved down to Miami. So some of that kind of like club kind of music sound, some of the songs like came from like this area. Like, so we're about an hour from Washington, D.C. They have like go-go, which is like a very specific sound.
The
It's like
2-drum setup.
literally beating on like upside down like empty plastic like buckets. Like that's really like what go-go. You see people in the streets. Here we didn't have that. But yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just very like a, I don't know. And we had like our own dance to it. It was just like our dance music. It was very local. It's like, you know, people calling out street names and neighborhoods and, you know, same kind of beat over and over again, like dun, 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 like just very basic stuff. So it wasn't very inspiring. So I was always looking for something a bit that had a bit more flavor to it. So I just ended up gravitating more towards like music from Philly and New York. And people don't think I'm from here for many reasons, but that's probably one of them.
And you went to school in Baltimore as well?
I did. I'm a product of public school, which I know means something different here than it does over there.
In the UK, yeah. I would love to know what your language learning was like at school. Was it obligatory? Could you choose from a range?
So when I was going to school, it was basically when you got to middle school, which they used to call junior high. So basically like between ages like 11 and 13, you had to pick a language in public school. And it was like, do you want to learn French or Spanish? That was it.
Okay.
And at the time, people were saying, oh, well, French isn't very useful. That's kind of how it was built here. Like, it's not very useful. Spanish is more common. You should learn that. And I did. And I was like pretty good. I remember the teacher actually gave us all Spanish names, which I think now would get her canceled. But like at the time, it was fine. And I picked Tula because it began with a T, and I still don't know what that means. But yeah, we all had Spanish names and, you know, basic like stuff. Oh, we're going to learn how to say the days of the week and the months of the year. And we're going to teach you grammar charts and Merry Christmas. Like that was basically
Feliz Navidad.
That's basically it. Yeah. That was
funny.
basically it.
I've never heard the Spanish name Tula. My sister's Thai grandfather is called Tula. So it's definitely a Thai name, but I'd never heard it in Spanish.
I haven't either, but apparently my 7th grade Spanish teacher had it on the list of names to choose.
That is so funny.
I have never heard it since, honestly. Yeah.
So you took Spanish junior high and high school as well?
Yeah, in high school I continued because I think I had to have a foreign language. Mm-hmm. And I was like very impressed with myself. You know, I went up to Spanish 6, which, you know, if you, numbers 1 through 5, I guess I did pretty well. I don't remember what they were now. And we were actually trying to read novels, but our teacher was not a native speaker. He was like a guy who, you know, typical kind of guy who's like, oh, I've traveled and, you know, I'm going to go teach the disadvantaged people in school and, you know, share with them my knowledge. And he was, I'm sure he had pretty good book knowledge of Spanish, but we didn't really do any like real, I don't think we did anything really conversational, but we would like try to read through like a book or something. So I thought I was pretty good, you know, like I learned a language. I did pretty decent in school. Despite my tendencies to not want to do homework, I managed to do pretty well. So
yeah, I mean, most people I talk to don't feel that they achieved learning a language in school. So that's pretty amazing. And when did that turn into for you a desire to do something with it professionally, to help others learn?
Well, it didn't. Honestly, it was just like something I did in school. I was pretty good at figuring out patterns, so I could bust out a grammar chart, but like I still couldn't like talk to people. So I felt like although I was successful in school, the bar was extraordinarily low. So like I didn't really feel like I learned the language. And so the first time I left the country, I had planned a trip to Panama City. And it was one of those things like, got to go see the Panama Canal. I'm going to travel on my own. It was like my first solo trip. And I had planned to go to a language school. I was planning to do some excursions, some volunteer stuff, just kind of like, I don't know, explore. And I said to myself, well, Panama should be fine because I've learned Spanish, so I'll be fine. And I remember getting to the airport thinking, all right, I'm going to just listen for the word dirección because I know they're going to ask me, where am I staying? Like, what's the address, right? So I'm like trying to be prepared. And I get to the airport, we're going through like customs, and they're like, siguiente, siguiente. And I didn't know what that meant. I was like, okay, I guess you should tell me to come on because there was hand motions. There are a lot of nonverbals, right?
Yeah.
So I get there and I'm standing and I'm like bracing myself. Okay, I just need to listen for this word and I need to tell him the address. And I was like prepared. And he said none of the things I was like expecting, and it was really fast. And I was like, and I just like gave him the paper with the address on it because I was like so lost. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I was like, oh no, I guess I don't know Spanish. So I think that moment of like recognition that what I had learned in school was like woefully inadequate was part of what inspired me to learn for real. Because I was like, okay, this is not okay. I need to figure this out. So that's what really inspired me to try to figure it out on my own.
Amazing. How long were you in Panama?
Probably maybe about 10 days or so. Because I went to Panama City. I did see the Panama Canal. I did the whole tour. Then I went to this town called Boquete in the mountains. It was really nice. There's a lot of expats there. I think now it's probably been more taken over by expats these days. But it's a really nice small town, and people could just like walk around, doors open, that type of place. And I did, it was like the first time I did a homestay with the family because I took the class at the school there. So it was like 4 hours a day, conversational Spanish in Panama and Boquete. And yeah, it was a really cool experience to be able to stay with the family and really get used to the language and being around the people there.
That's one of the things I love about Spanish con Salsa. You really take people traveling with you through your program. So I'd love to hear a bit more about your travels. If you could choose, if you have any favorite spots in El Caribe, like places that really inspired you.
Oh man, that's so hard, right? I'm sure as you know, right? When you travel, it's so hard to like pick one place.
Yeah.
But I would say, see, it's hard. I'm gonna make my Puerto Rican friends mad. But I would honestly say, because I've been to Puerto Rico 7 times, and it's like my running joke. Yeah, like I want to be like a honorary Boricua, but when I go there, there's this thing, right? Because Puerto Rico is like more of a bilingual culture, and you get like profiled all the time for being a tourist. So if you're in like San Juan in the capital and they see you and you like even have an inkling of like you're not from here, they will just start talking to you in English. And it started to make me feel very othered. Even though Puerto Rico, the first time I went, felt like home to me, and I have no explanation why. I have no family from the Caribbean, contrary to popular opinion. I'm pretty sure somewhere in my DNA. But yeah, I really love Puerto Rico, but the place I went that was the most unexpectedly amazing experience was I went to Colombia, and I went to Cartagena initially, and then I ended up in this town called Palenque, which I just talked about this on the podcast like a few episodes ago. I ended up finding like this town I didn't know existed. It's like the first free town of Africans who had escaped slavery in the Americas, in the whole Western Hemisphere. That was founded, I think, in the 1600s.
Wow.
Which to me is amazing because, I mean, in the U.S., obviously, we were still in slavery until 1860s and beyond. If you know the history of the Emancipation Proclamation, then Juneteenth after, even after we were so-called emancipated, a lot of people necessarily were not. And so being there just was like amazing because I'm like, oh my God, they've preserved their culture. And a lot of people say it's like you're in West Africa when you go there.
Wow.
And it's literally in Colombia. So that I think was probably the most impactful just because when I went, it was like, how, like I see people that look like they're my cousins, how did I not know about this place? And it was like a real education for me. And I thought that I was pretty smart. I was like, I'm well traveled. Like I know places, I know stuff. I know about Black history. And I was like, how did I not know about Palenque? So that was probably my favorite.
That sounds incredible. I've heard about it. I really would love to see it one day. And I was having this conversation recently with the Black Curriculum, which is an organization here kind of dealing with gaps in the curriculum at school. And we're just not taught about these things like at school. So anything that we know, we've kind of learned from our families or outside or but if other people in school have no personal reason or desire to fill in these blanks, there was a recent article here saying 80% of British people couldn't tell you about British colonial history.
Wow.
And I was teaching in the French-speaking Caribbean in Saint-Barth in March, and I met several people who had no idea about reparations paid to slave trading families or that France made Haiti pay them back $1 bazillion. Like, no clue.
Yeah.
They were like, really? I was like, do we not have the same internet? Like,
actually, we don't, right? We know that when you search, like you do, you have a different algorithm. So, yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy, but that's one of the things I love about music is that when you teach with music, so much of the history is actually, depending how you choose it, contained in the lyrics. You can connect. Oh, okay, well that rhythm's from this place in West Africa, and then it became this there, and then it became that there, and the names they call or the spiritual traditions or So I'd love to know if for you, what are some of your favorite things about learning and teaching with music?
I think just what you just said, like ironically, how I ended up in Cartagena was because of a salsa song by Joe Arroyo called Rebellion, and it's all about a slave rebellion that took place in Cartagena. And literally, I just, it's a crazy story. I tell it on the podcast, but basically, I was trying to figure out where to go, and I was already in Central America, and I didn't really know what I was doing. My trip was kind of falling apart, and like this lyric just was like in my head, like Las calles de Cartagena, and I was like, okay, I guess that's where I'm going. So literally to the point of just guiding how I decided to travel, and that is how I ended up finding Palenque. And so I think for me, that song is a great example, but there's many songs where if you just dive into the lyrics, you learn so much about not only the language, right? Because you're learning how people actually speak. You're also getting the cadence of the rhythm of the language, because a lot of people struggle with pronunciation because they're trying to pronounce a language with the rules from their native language, right? So if I was to say, hola, como estás, or whatever, right? It doesn't, and then you're like, I don't understand why people don't understand me. It's like, you're trying to use these letters to make sounds that are unfamiliar to you, and you're using the ones that you know. But with music, it naturally causes you to abandon that and focus on the rhythms and the sound. So when you're singing along, even if you're like me and you don't have a beautiful voice like Desta,
lies.
In that imitation of the sounds, you do way better with your pronunciation in any foreign language. I don't know if you found that with the other languages you teach as well. But for me, people would say, oh, you don't really have an American accent. I can't really place your accent. Or they go, oh, you kind of sound like you're from the Caribbean. And I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense because the music I listen to, salsa, bachata, reggaeton, is all from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba. So like naturally they have a way that they speak that's different. So I find that music informs how you sound, your ability to connect with the real intonation, the way people speak. And then you learn about the actual human beings that are creating really culture through the way that they speak, the things that are chosen to be talked about in a culture. Like, for example, I love like Spanish in Dominican Republic, because if you go and you learn like more Dominican Spanish, there's probably like 20 different words for party, right?
Awesome.
So you learn a lot about the culture just by even the words that exist. There are things that you don't get if you're just like, I'm going to learn Spanish, I'm going to get to level B2, and I'm going to go get this textbook, and I'm going to learn the subjunctive, and you approach it in this professorial kind of way. You really miss like the heart and soul of the language and the people that, let's face it, if you're learning a language, you should be trying to talk to humans. Like, you're not learning a language to talk to ChatGPT. So
we hope.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you are, then yay, go marry your robot in the future and do you. But for us old school folks that still appreciate human connection, there's nothing that you can replace with like really getting to that deeper level of the people, of the language, of the history, of the culture. And the music gives it all to you without you having to look for it. So that's why I love learning with music. And it's also way more fun that way, right?
100%. I still can't believe, I mean, I started languages through music in 2014. I was so geeked to find you online. I was like, oh my God, this is the same idea. I just recently found someone else doing Portuguese through music, which is a Brazilian lady who lives in Armenia. But I still can't believe how like it's not more popular to learn through music. Because for me, it seems like it just ticks all the boxes in a really nice way.
I hope you're enjoying my conversation with Desta so far. I will be sharing part 2 of our conversation in next week's episode, where we talk a little bit more about how Spanish con Salsa got started and some lessons learned along the way. And also I'll be sharing more details about what happened when I actually did arrive in London and the things that we saw. I will share one thing. We did go to, I believe it was the British Museum, and we actually saw the Rosetta Stone. So if you're not familiar, so not the actual, the other language learning software Rosetta Stone, but that is actually why that company has its name. It's this stone, it's this ancient artifact that was found that was used to decipher other languages. So I'll share more about that in next week's episode. And also, this is a time of reflection, to relax, to kind of get yourself prepared for next year, and really just kind of take time to take stock of what's happened this year. But next week on the podcast, I will be sharing some tips to get ready for 2026. So I hope that you are subscribed to the podcast. As always, you can go to our website, learnspanishconsalsa.com, for more episodes, to make sure that you get updates on all of the amazing things that we have coming up for 2026. As always, I hope something that you heard in this episode is taking you one step closer from Spanish beginner to bilingual. Hasta la próxima.
Thank you for listening to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast at learnspanishconsalsa.com.